Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
I'm not a good pretender, I never could live a lie. I said too much and let it get the best of me until it took the rest of me. I thought it was worth the fight, to fight for what's right, to right all the wrongs, to sing in our songs, to know we belong. No one understands, they don't have the desire, got their hands in the fire, and they do it again. We give it all we can, all we have is desire, got their hands in the fire, we burn and still say never say, never say, never say, never again. I never say, never say, never say, never again. I learned more from one enemy than from 1,000 friends. That heaven takes care of the fools and scoundrels in the end. You learn more from one lie than from 1,000
Greetings,
truths.
space travelers. Welcome home. You tuned in to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I'm your host, Mr. Rob G. And tonight we'll be broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates and across North America digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio, at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, plus get some official Spaced Out swag and rock out to some Bumblefoot. Oh, so much more. Welcome to the After Hours here on a Saturday. Glad to be back. Glad to see everybody here. We're going to have a great show tonight. We have Tom Conwell coming on in. Going to go ahead and speak to us as we get ready to go on this SOR hiatus. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it is coming very soon. And with that being said, let me go ahead and jump in the chat and see who has the gold position tonight. Can almost already know who it is, and let me see who it is. At Spaced Out Radio Show, so that must be Dave Scott with the gold tonight. We got Penny with the silver, and then we have Joshua 420 with the bronze. Definitely want to thank you guys coming on in tonight. Let's see. Oh, this is Jackson Lee. Hey, Jackson Lee. Shout out to you guys in Element 115 taking over the airwaves. Let's see, who else do we have in here? We have Joshua 420 saying hello. Hello, Joshua 420. Thanks for coming on in. Thanks for showing up here tonight at the After Hours. We have Laura Lee Seaton saying hello, everyone. Hello, Laura Lee. Thanks for showing up here tonight. We got Woo Riders DG. That's Derek Galloway, if you didn't know, saying us strong. We're strong. Yeah, we definitely are. Derek Galloway, thanks for coming on in and showing up here tonight at the show. Let's see, who else do we have coming on in? We got Aloha Dave saying buenos noches a todos de Mexico. Good evening to everyone from Mexico, keeping us bilingual. We do appreciate you, Aloha Dave, for coming on in as well. Let's see, who else do we have here? We got, I can't pronounce that, but Zizu. I'm just going to say that. Okay, with the 8-ball emoji. Thanks for coming on in. We do appreciate you. Who else do we have here? We got Magneticus Attractor saying, what's up, Magneticus? Thanks for coming into the show tonight. Woo Riders DG, prayers for you and your family. Nothing going on with the family, DG, but thanks for reaching out and showing some love. See, who else do we have? Warden Dragon coming in saying hi, SOR. Hey, Warden Dragon, thanks for showing up here tonight. We do appreciate you. Let's see, Jessica S with a whole bunch of different emojis saying hi, Mr. Rob G, mods and chatters. Hey, Jessica S, thanks for coming on into the show tonight. We do appreciate you. Let's see, Magneticus says the US Strong stands for Uncle Sam Strong. Maybe, I don't know. Thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you. Who else do we have here? We got Abbott Hoffman saying, sup, homies and homettes. What's up, Abbott Hoffman? I do appreciate you. Laura Lee Seaton saying, oh, was worried about you, Rob G. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. It's good to know that people care about you out there. You know, you do this all the time. You don't really know how people feel. And it's always excellent and awesome. That's just how awesome you guys are, to go ahead and show your love like that. So I do appreciate that, and I take it to heart, definitely. Let's see. All right. And Kurt M, yeah, I do appreciate you. Yeah, no, everything's copacetic. Everything's on the up and up. My birthday was last week, so happy belated birthday to me. And yeah, everything's great. Let me see here. Moving down the list, and I think that's it. Okay, so what we're going to do right now, we're going to go ahead and jump into the Spaced Out Radio Time Machine, as we do each and every Saturday, and look at the week that was Spaced Out Radio. We had awesome guests here this past week. And if you missed any of it, you can jump into the archive at any time, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and catch up on what you missed. So we'll go ahead and get ready to jump into that. And then we'll be right back, just as we always are with our guests for the night. And here we go.
Nancy, curious, because I'm a curious kind of guy.
Sure.
You know, for you, with your experiences that you've had, you told us the message earlier in the last half hour, kind of what you feel they want from you, humanity, and the reason why you're kind of like the human messenger for them, just like many others are.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked to a number of experiencers over the years. You know, not everybody's having grays come around, the big almond-shaped eyes, the big gray head, the tiny little dirty filth type body. I'm curious, what kind of other creatures or ETs are people talking to you about?
Well, every race has many, many different groups within their race. Like for grays, there's over 60 different races, and they're different colors and different heights and have different facial features. So every single one, you know, like Arcturians, there's many different ones, aquatic beings, many different ones, Nordics, and there's many different ones. So a lot of people have had just, you know, the most popular is the gray that I hear about. And then I hear a lot about, you know, I've met a reptilian. I've heard people mention reptilians, you know, they're just really all kinds. But I think that what they would want to do for introduction wise first is try to find one that is the closest to our frequency, because that's what's so different about them in an exchange, in an interaction, is the frequency. So I think that, to be honest with you, I was not part of a hybrid program, but I do understand the hybrid program. And I believe that if that would be a good way to try to have a race that we could have a interaction with first, because they would be closer to our frequency than theirs, because theirs is very powerful compared to us.
Lorian, you were going to finish up a weird UFO story, and encounter?
Well, this is kind of the accumulation of all 3 years of the Super Soldier Mind Control conferences. Look, my tongue is purple. Blue.
Nice. Nice.
Just thought I'd throw that in for you guys. I drink methylene blue, so you guys might want to check that out someday. Anyhow, so long story short, after these, I'm being surveilled and all these crazy things are happening in my life. I finally realized that I got to stop being afraid. And my real question was, how did all the other researchers in our community that are still around and still talking at conferences and what have you, how are they all still alive after all the things they've exposed? So the first person I called was Jordan Maxwell. And I said to Jordan, I said, why are you still alive? And he says, oh, they're coming after you, huh? And I said, well, yeah, I got some problems. He goes, well, you got to ask God for protection. And I said, what do you mean ask God for protection? He goes, that's what you got to do. He goes, that's what they told me when I got to the point you're at. And that's what probably they asked somebody when they got to that point. All whistleblowers, all people who get in trouble, everybody gets to the same place. And that is asking God for protection. I said, okay. I said, I'll do it. So sure enough, he says, it'll take a while. You just got to go out in the yard and scream up to God every day and beg him to help you. And I said, okay, I'll do it. So I did. I'd go walking out into the field near my house, and every day I'd get down on my knees and I'd pray to God, and I'd start screaming at him and yelling and begging and the whole 9 yards. Finally, on about the 10th day, I think it was, I went back to the house and I felt this feeling, like I can't describe it to people unless they've actually had it, but it was like a Kundalini experience, but more than that, because I wasn't having up and down the spine kind of tingling fun stuff going on. It was more like I was connecting with the cosmos, and I can't describe it to you, but anyhow, I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I'm like in the state of calm, but I'm like expanded to the universe. It's like being on acid, but without the acid, I guess. And suddenly I hear a voice say, you are now protected. And I went, what? And I look up and I see 2 giant angels standing in my room that are like so big, they're like out the ceiling, but the ceiling's gone too. And they're like 30 feet tall. And I've never had a problem since that day.
Let's just talk about this for a second on Science Bob and Friends with Dr. Bob McGuire. What is proof? AI has ruined videos. It's ruined photographs. Photoshop has ruined photographs. Audio can be edited. Yet the skeptics out there, Science Bob, always say they want empirical evidence of proof that there is stuff going on. Yet nobody can tell me what proof is.
Yep, I totally agree. So I continue to think that most of until we get sufficient funding sources to start testing real hypotheses, the only thing we're actually capable of is doing observational science. So that means try to capture with every scientific instrument that you can muster evidence of anything you experience. Because we are just beyond the time when, beyond taking you to personal belief, videos and pictures are just not going to do anything. They are not scientific evidence, especially now that they're so easily faked. And I mean, voices and foreign languages and all this other stuff. I mean, it could, things that look like hieroglyphics. You're going to walk up and sit in front of Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, and just say, "Hey, please do this," and it'll write a 100-page paper for you on whatever you want it to, and make whatever pictures you want and videos you want. And the price of all these things are going to collapse through the floor because everybody and their brother's trying to get on it. So the market's going to be flooded.
I get that.
And that and Musk is not kidding when he says how much Tesla's going to be worth in 10 years, because they're going to sell that robot for $10,000. It'll start off at 20 and it's going to fall to 10,000, and labor will end overnight.
What is an aura and why do we have them?
Okay, it's an electromagnetic field or an energy field that radiates off of actually everything. I mean, we're all energy, right? E equals MC squared. We're all energy. We radiate out energy. And I like to explain to people, first of all, we all have the ability to see them, but most people don't. A lot of kids still do. A lot of animals definitely do. But I let people know, even if you can't see them, we all feel them. That's why you can meet somebody for the first time and feel like an instant connection, or you're comfortable being around them. And other people, you're just like, wow, I don't even want to be near that person. You're feeling their aura, you're feeling their energy field. So the way I see them, and I've met a lot of people that see the same thing that I do, and other people that see it differently. A lot of healers sometimes see gold when I see yellow. So I want people to know if they do see them and I'm describing something different, it doesn't mean somebody's right and somebody else is wrong. It means we're having a different experience of the aura, and however we interpret that should still make sense. You know, it should still fit with it. And I think we experience the aura differently, just like we taste food differently, because there are people out there that like Brussels sprouts and I know they're not tasting what I'm tasting. Anyway, so what I see are different layers, different colored bands out from the person. And the one or two bands that I see that are closest to the person's body are the life colors. Those are the colors that I see that don't ever change in a person's life. They show your theme for this life that you've chosen. I look at it as when you decided to come to the planet, you left breadcrumbs behind in case you got here and forgot why you came here, which is very easy to do. We left a lot of clues behind, some of them in the aura colors. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. Some in astrology, numerology, palmistry, iridology. So we can go back and go, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I'm here. So these two bands of colors show me your life purpose, your theme, personality type, what relationships are going to be like for you, what's important, who you're compatible with, who's going to be more challenging for you, how you are with money, potential health issues, family. It's all coded in those two colors. And then the outer bands, most people have about 6 feet of bands out from them, except for you violets, Dave. Violets always have huge auras because you guys are here to reach the masses. So your auras get really big so you can reach the masses. Anyway, most people, the average person has about 6 feet of bands. Tans tend to keep them tighter to their bodies. Violets usually have big auras. Anyway, the outer bands, the way I see them, other people see it differently. The outer bands in the aura change all the time according to what's going on with the person at the time. So for example, if I see somebody getting angry, red flares up in their outer bands, but once they're not angry anymore, that red goes away. That's different than a red life color or a red overlay, which are two different things that I see.
If for myself, it was literally what I call a love soup of light is what I was in. It was almost a liquid light, and it spun clockwise, and it was in the center of the universe. And to the left of it, there was another spinning light. I knew that was a place where everything that's ever happened was recorded. People have all sorts of names for it. I knew it was a library of knowledge, you know. And thoughts, ideas, goals, things that needed to be done would flow through this clockwise. And every light that was in there was a soul, and there were trillions upon trillions of lights. And every light contributed to the thought as it went by, and it would go to the center and it would become one. And this thought came by of literally something that needed to be done. And I just casually said, I guess that's something I could do. And it was like everybody else took a step back in line and said, she said she'd do it. And I was like, well, hold on here. I don't know what is going on. And I got ripped from this love soup into this cold space. and I went to go get trained at different places, but one in particular that I go to still since I was a kid is what I know and I call the Crystal City, which looks like ancient Greek buildings but made of crystal.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's and now, you know, it's so funny because it's like I never thought to pause to ask people, you ever see something like that? But I've heard people say things like the Great White Brotherhood. That's the I don't know, higher echelon of something, but I don't know those names. I know this place, and I know that I've gone there to be trained and for this lifetime, for this right here, right now. So it's like people see me as that shadow people lady. This information, even then, talking about shadow people, Hat Man, that is so superficial than what is going on and why things are happening as they are right now. So it's like they get into the oohs and ahs and the scares and the that's wild, but it's just barely scratches the surface.
All right, as we go ahead and jump back forward in time after checking out the week in review right here at Spaced Out Radio, you missed any of that, make sure you jump into our archive, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, is where you can access all of our archives because they are totally free, Free, no cost. So with that being said, it's definitely been a wonderful week here at Spaced Out Radio as we get here into the after hours and we get ready to bring in our guest for the night, a guest that we have had here before, and we just had to have him back, right? So he's a UFO researcher, he's an author, and we'll get to talking about a lot of that good stuff here tonight. Let me go ahead and bring in our guest for the night, Mr. Tom Conwell. Hi, how are you, Tom?
Hey, good, Rob. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you for sure. So I know we talked last time and we kind of got into some things, and I kind of wanted to jump. I know we talked a little bit about this last time, but if you wouldn't mind kind of starting this off talking about your definition of forensic pattern research.
Yeah. What I try to do is I try to take apart what I happen to be looking at. So if, let's say, I had a map of the United States and I had a whole bunch of pins on the map of varying types of sightings, I try to look at the entire map as a big puzzle. And what I want to try to do is to put the pieces of the puzzle together so that it takes areas that have similarities and make them one. So I would, for instance, have a map and I'd have pins all over, and I'd circle the areas around the map if there's commonalities between those things.
Right.
What I try to do then is to take the types of sightings and put those together in commonalities. And where I have overlaps, those are the areas that I think are probably pretty interesting. So what I try to do is to take everything apart like a forensic researcher would do and try to make sense of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you actually, a database that you use that's free to everyone is like, for instance, the New Fork database.
Yes.
What other databases do you access, or where else do you get your data from?
That's where I started, and that's all that I've done so far. Now, I tried to get access to the MUFON database and ask them to give me a list of their names of not the people, don't care about the people, the kind of sightings and where they were sighted. That's all I wanted, just that. And they shut me down.
Yeah, that's interesting because, and that's one of the things that I talk about is access to data when you have organizations like this. And I was under the impression, but I guess hearing from you, maybe it's not the case, that I guess you have to be a paying member in order to access the database. Is that what they told you?
Well, yes and no. They give you a way that you can search their database, and you can find out things quite well through the database, just like that. But that's not what I want. I don't want to look up one sighting and try to find out the information about it. I want all of the sightings and where they were all at the same time. I couldn't get that.
Yeah, and like I say, I've had my criticism about MUFON, but then there were some things I saw that was explained to me that kind of cleared some things up for me. But yeah, that's the one thing that I wish they would change, is being more open with the data that they capture. So that's actually pretty good, though, that you're able to at least get that from Newfork. And you've been able to compile some books behind that, right? Which books are those?
Yeah, they are Here series, Volume 1, which is the East Coast, which is actually like about two or three states in from the Atlantic Ocean. And then the Central U.S., which is in and around, let's say, Ohio to Kansas. And then the Western U.S., which is from Colorado to California, and that would also include Alaska and Hawaii. And I took those apart and did my forensic research on them and tried to give exactly what kind of sightings were seen where and what the tendency was from when the database started, which was 1950 roughly, and look at it in chunks of data so that every chunk that I grabbed had the same amount of sightings in it. So I could compare apples to apples and not have, a big problem with a whole bunch of sightings from California and try to compare that, let's say, to very few sightings from somewhere else. You can't compare them. There is no comparison. There's no way to compare them. So back into the database I went, and what I tried to do is to get chunks of information so that the amount of sightings that I used were the exact same quantity of sightings of the same types over the exact same periods. Then I could compare New York to California, or even a running total of California over 4 different time periods, from, let's say, 1950 to 2000 and 2001 to about 2007 and 2008 to about 2011, and then 2012 right up to the present. And the reason that the chunks of data varied in years by so many years is because I had to get the exact same amount of sightings from that particular area so I could compare that to something else. It was a nightmare. It really was. It was very, very hard. And once I did that, then it was I was able to draw comparisons and make generalities, and that's what I was looking to do.
So that's awesome. Now, what if you looked at the collection, what was one of the conclusions that you may have come to with the research that you had done using those books?
Oh, okay. Very interesting question. One of the research questions that I did is I tried to look at areas and why there were concentrations of sightings in certain areas. And then what I did was try to figure out what could have accounted for them. Well, back into the database I went, and what I found was the types of sightings varied by where they were, the years that they were occurring, and again, that gave me absolutely no link to any other data. So here we go again, back into the database and try to find out something that I could at least conclude. So the next step was to get a large amount of the information and try to look at the same things in every area for every state across the country. Things like Air Force bases, things like nuclear plants, power generation, and powered by power generation. Nuclear plants are indeed power generation, but by power generation, I was including coal-fired plants that polluted heavily. And then that brought up another question. Well, I have to look at pollution, and it just went on and on and on. Everything I looked into, I created another opening to look into something else. What a nightmare, Rob. What a nightmare.
Yeah.
It took me years to do this. One of the conclusions that I came up with was when I first started in with looking at the various states, I included lists of which Native American tribes were concentrated in which particular areas. And then I went back into Google and try to find out what may have been going on in those particular Native American tribes that would trigger something that may have indicated that they were interested in UFOs or interested in visitors from the sky, whatever their terminology happened to be. So that's when I started looking at the major tribes, and one of the major tribes that I looked at, I had to go into Canada. And again, this had nothing to do with the United States. I had to go into Canada, which is where one of the major tribes originated, and try to find out what their similarities were, what they had going, what their teachings happened to be. And I came across the Algonquin tribe. The Algonquin tribe has a thing that they call the Seven Fires prophecy. And within this prophecy, there are 7 different serious events that they were told were going to happen, because they were also told that they're going to have to move from where they were into the central U.S. to a place that they said they were told that where food grew on the water. Well, I've never heard of a place like that. But back then, there were in some of the areas lots of little lakes, and there were, of course, clean as could be at that point. and the food that grew on the water was a cabbage-like product, and they could sustain themselves when they came across this stuff. So it was one thing after another, and everything tied in together as best I could try to tie it in, and everything had some sort of link to UFO sightings and what was I going to say? And the teachings that were passed down from the grandfathers to the grandsons all the way through the years. Because when the Algonquins started moving, they started moving way back pre-Christ, and it was told to them that they were going to come across various things, and that they should look at them. And these various things they were told, always passed down from grandfather to son to grandson, and they retold their stories. They didn't have much of a writing style at the time, but they continuously retold their stories. And this was just so interesting. It opened up a whole world of something that I never ever expected to see, Rob. Never expected it. But it turns out that I stumbled across a girl, and in my volume 2, I interviewed her at the end of the book about 7/5 prophecy. Well, it turns out that she was told by her grandparents, and the story was passed down from their elders, that they should live a good life just like they've always been taught. Love the land. And if they did that, then by the time you would reach a point where people were going to have to make a decision on whether to keep polluting the earth or not, that if they made the wrong decision, that they will be taken off of the planet by their visitors from the sky and removed so that the planet can be reset. That happened to be the 7th fire. And we're at a point right now where we're face on with the 7th fire. We've polluted so badly that we have created a real mess with the planet, and that we have climate catastrophes everywhere we look.
Right.
Right now, we may very well end up with one series of hurricanes after another that are going to pick up so much water from the oceans that it's going to dump on the land and create real problems for everybody that lives on the land. Not to mention the heat that's going to come afterward, and it's going to be very, very bad to live on the planet if things keep going on as they were, and we don't get a handle on it.
And that's interesting, because when you talk about that, it makes, and this is kind of one of the thoughts that I had as well, when they talk about the governments potentially interfacing with these extraterrestrials. And I've always said and always thought that, did they give them some sort of ultimatum like what you're laying out here? Like, did they say, okay, well, you need to clean things up, you need to get rid of nuclear weapons, X, Y, and Z, or else this may happen. Kind of sounds like what you just mentioned there.
Yeah, sort of. I don't know if they actually gave anybody from any government an ultimatum directly. But what they did do is they gave us a couple of hints of what they were capable of doing. And this occurred back in the 50s when they had some of their ships go in and hover over top of our where our nuclear plant rockets were, the nuclear tipped rocket, and shut them down. That gave everybody the hint that what they are capable of doing. And along the way, they have blown up some of our rockets that we've sent up.
Okay.
Just to let them know we're here. I don't know if they have actually given anyone a specific ultimatum. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it just based on what you just mentioned there, it kind of sounded like they kind of, said, if, with that prophecy, that there should be things that need to be rectified before we would be able to move on to that next step. And so that's kind of where the ultimatum part comes in, because I'm wondering if there are a set of things that we have to do as humanity in order to, get set up to be joining this galactic federation or whatever it is they have out there, that there would be some sort of timeline on something like that. So I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, in the Seven Fires prophecy, they did say that prior to the action of the seventh fire, that the people on the earth responsible for controlling their technology is going to have to make a decision to either clean up the planet or face the ultimatum, and that ultimatum would be planetary worldwide reset, which has happened to us many, many times.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. I'm glad you went over and explained that, because that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
All of these previous civilizations that we have disappeared, and then we're at ourselves at a point to where we're maybe on the precipice of this enlightenment or this whatever it is we're facing, this definitely humanity shifting moment. And it's like, okay, are we now at the moment where we make the right choice or the wrong choice, end up either another extinct civilization or one that disappears, or do we get to take that step into enlightenment? So
I think we're really close to that, Rob.
Yeah, and it's scary when you think about it, right?
I know it is.
It's who speaks for us in this moment, like, you know what I mean? And that's kind of where it's like we have to kind of take the wheel as humanity and kind of speak for ourselves, because if any of that Eisenhower stuff is true, then there is the potential that they have made some deals or some promises that they, as the powers that be, may not be willing to keep. But if it was up to us as humanity, we would, for sure, we get rid of nuclear weapons immediately. We would opt to focus on cleaning the planet up immediately if it were left up to us. So it kind of makes you think about the people, if there are people speaking on our behalf, what it is that they're saying or agreeing to do.
Sure. And I don't know exactly what transpired at the Eisenhower meetings myself, but I would not be surprised if there were I hesitate to use the word threats, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were some direct comments that if you don't do this, then this.
Yeah, and that's just what I'm wondering because I mean, if that's the case, I think that is definitely something that we should know as humanity because you're making a decision that would affect everyone on this planet. You know, if it comes down to some of the things that we were just talking about there. With that being said, you know, where do you see in this moment that I know there's not really a lot that is going on as far as big news in this space lately, so it's hard to see where we're at in on this disclosure path. What do you feel about that? Like, do you where does your outlook on disclosure at the moment?
Okay, well, during a lot of nighttime encounters where I was probably astral traveling, they, meaning probably the ETs, they were controlling what information that they were telling myself and a whole bunch of other people. These astral traveling episodes, the only way I could describe it is it was like I'd go to sleep at night and wake up at 3-4 in the morning, and I would feel like I've sat in a lecture hall for hours. Like they're telling me things, okay? And it was like this for months on end. And I think it affected my health. And I finally had to say to someone at night that you can't do this to me anymore because it's not doing me any good physically. So they sort of backed off on that. But every so often, I'll wake up in the morning with a whole bunch of information that I didn't have the night before. And one of those things that they told me was that in 2027, that there's going to be a major disclosure event.
That would be awesome. You know, and I've heard 2027 thrown around there. I've heard different years, but 2027 keeps coming up a lot. So I don't know what it is to that. You know, you've had these downloads and you've talked with a particular species. Is there a species you can name by name that you're in contact with, or is it just random?
They don't tell me, and they don't show me.
Okay.
It's like I get whisked away to somewhere, and they dump information in my brain. And when I wake up in the morning, some days I'm raring to go and get on the social media and make all kinds of ET related comments. And other days, I just sort of stare out the window. It's very, very weird. I can't even put into words what I feel like some mornings after these nighttime events.
Well, what is it? Are you, when you get whisked off away, are you physically seeing beings, or what is the interaction like?
I'm not seeing anything that I can remember. Now, I may indeed be seeing things, but I wake up not knowing, not remembering what I've seen. But certainly, I'll be loaded up with all kinds of information.
Okay, and so what are you? So how do you know that you've been whisked away? Is it just in the morning when you wake up, you all of a sudden have this download of information, or what is it that confirms that for you?
Yeah, that's a good one. Very good question, and the reason it's such a good question is it. When I first started having these, it was back right around the point that I had retired. And that was about 2009, 2010. And I didn't recognize what was happening because I I've never experienced anything like that before. I had nothing, nothing to compare it to. And these nighttime sessions would occur once a month, and I always thought that I could think it through the next day and try to make heads or tails of it. Most of the time I couldn't, and most of the time I didn't remember large portions of it. But what happens is every so often someone will say something that will trigger a memory, and then I'll have a rush of what somebody told me one time. It's very odd. For the longest time, I thought I was dreaming, Rob. I thought I was just dreaming, that it really wasn't happening to me. It couldn't possibly happen because it never happened before.
So what event was it that kind of pushed it over the line for you? So as you're thinking about this and trying to figure out, where this information is coming from, what was it that connected the dot for you?
Probably through social media, when I first started talking to people that were psychic, that had claimed that they received lots of downloads themselves. And then when I get a bunch of people together, I could ask each of them the same kind of question, get their bit of information, and compare it to what I was feeling. And it took years. It really did. I mean, I thought I was losing my mind for the longest time. And then I started to realize, my goodness sakes, somebody's taking me away and talking to me for hours on end and giving me information. Very odd, very strange. I had nothing as a premise to say, I remember when that used to happen to me, or that's happened to me no, I had nothing happen to me before, ever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we have this, and it took the longest time for me to figure out. One event that helped me was probably talking to people who have received downloads and to ask questions of psychics.
Right.
Also, during that time, I started to have psychic experiences myself.
Okay.
And that was new. I had never, that never happened to me before. I was as psychic as a chair. That's the way I describe myself. I mean, nothing. I had nothing going on.
Well, looking at this and just trying to think through it and listening to what you say here, when I think about abductions, I've questioned and asked people this and asked you as well. Do you think that abductions are a physical thing? Are you being abducted physically, or is it your consciousness potentially that's being abducted?
Both. I have been taken physically, and I'll actually tell you that story. I have been taken physically, but for the most part, in order to give me information, they just take my mind for all intents and purposes and talk to me. Mm. And when I wake up the next day, it's all in there. But anyhow, one night I was in my bed, laying on my back, and I woke up and looked to the right, and there were two people walking into my room. And they were dressed like Native Americans, like back from the Plains Indians kind of thing. They looked just like that.
A ceremonial.
And, it was very, very strange. And I'm looking at them and like, what in the world are these Native Americans doing in my room? And how did they get there? So they came up to me, one on each side of me, and each had something in their hand, and they reached down and touched me on the chest, and I felt this tremendous jolt of electricity, and then all of a sudden I was levitating. And next thing I remember, I woke up in bed.
Yeah.
Now, I had no pattern for saying, oh yeah, that happened to me, back in 1947, and and tell a story. No, nothing like that ever happened. But one thing, I started remembering things as the time went on, and I thought back to this event where the people walked into my room that I didn't recognize. They walked in through a door on the right-hand side. Now I was laying on my back, and the door in the room was on the right-hand side. And they walked in there, and they walked up to me on each side of me and touched me, and that's when I levitated. Well, there's two problems there. The door in my bedroom is on the left-hand side. And I sleep in a queen-size bed, so they couldn't possibly have walked up on my right-hand side because there'd just be bed there. They wouldn't have been able to get there. My wife sleeps in her recliner because she has persistent back problems. And her recliner is right next to the bed. There's no room on that side for this other person to walk over. Mm-hmm. So I knew that I wasn't in my bed. Well, if I wasn't in my bed, where the heck was I?
Yeah. So is this, what would be the time, or if there was a time where it was the opposite, where you didn't feel like you were physically taken, or have you even experienced anything like that?
Okay, where I did not feel like I was physically taken.
Yeah.
That happens in the majority of instances. When I get up, I'll wake up in the morning, and that's usually around. It's very odd. This happens like this, but it's usually around 3:01. 3:00 on the clock. I'll wake up with a start, look at the clock, it's 3:00 in the morning, and then I realize that somebody's been talking to me for hours, and I was somewhere else.
Yeah, I get that weird time thing, like 2:22 in the morning or 3:33 or something that. It's a weird time. I don't know. So, but what we're going to do real quick, we're going to go ahead and take a break because we're at the end of the hour here, and then we can get right back into it. So before we do that, guys, make sure you hit that like button, and any questions for hour 2, make sure that you put them in caps as we go ahead and get ready to kick back, take a break, 5-minute break, come right back right here on Spaced Out Radio. You guys do not go anywhere. Don't move a muscle. We will be right back right here. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 2 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G, as we go ahead and get ready to get back into this conversation with our guest tonight, Mr. Tom Conwell. Thanks for coming in. But I want to talk to the space travelers first. You guys are already space travelers, so consider taking the next step. Join the club. That's right. You can join our Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 a month by joining our Patreon. So consider doing that as we get ready to jump back into the show here. Tom, I did want to start because I know we briefly talked about the having a connection with ETs. You haven't seen who they are. So do you have any idea of what race they are, if any?
If I had to make a guess, those with the downloads were probably Arcturians. That's the feeling I get. If I had to put a name down on paper, that would probably be the one. As far as the people that came into my bedroom, I would guess they're most likely grays because they've been known to fool people into thinking that they look different than they look. Yeah, maybe some other races can do that. I really don't know, but I've heard the grays can. So,
what's the general message that you receive? What is the overall message if you had to put it together?
It's more like it's more about spiritualism. They're talking to me about the oneness of the entire universe, that everybody is one, and that is the kind of message that they're trying to give. I would say that's most likely the predominant message. That's quite a bit different than our own particular religions happen to teach, but that seems to be the thing that comes up the most.
Yeah, and I hear that. I do hear that with other experiencers that say, the message is, essentially love and light, and for the progression of humanity, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And just trying to pin down, because there's supposedly so many different species that visit this planet, and trying to pin down, okay, which ones are the ones that seem to be the helpful ones versus the ones that may be indifferent, or ones that may be totally, not willing to participate, or really don't care about the future of humanity. Are you versed on the type of species that are out there? Have you heard? I don't really know a specific number. I just hear different people say different things.
One of the things I woke up with one morning was there were hundreds, literally hundreds of civilizations around the planet waiting for some particular event so that they could announce themselves. And within those hundreds of civilizations, there are some civilizations that only have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 representatives of that particular race.
Okay.
And they happen to be also included with another race that is very similar to them. But as far as a whole civilization goes, there are only probably about 10 really large contingents of extraterrestrials here. And they're in all kinds of different places. underwater, underground, in the moon, orbiting the sun. They're just all over the place.
That's crazy to think about right there. And that's I'm glad you kind of brought that up too. Just the, like, where are they? We know they're here, obviously, but then where do they go to hang out, I guess would be the best way to say it. And, underwater is one that comes up a lot of times. I've definitely heard underground, on the moon as well. What do you think this moment is? Do you think this is do you think that we are in a situation where we're dealing with, for the most part, a disclosure process that includes integrating with these extraterrestrials on the other side? Or what do you feel like their outlook is on humanity?
Okay. They are, like I said, they're around the planet and they're waiting for something. And what they're waiting for is for the frequency, the vibration of the Earth to increase so that the Earth and all of the inhabitants of Earth, meaning us, would increase our vibration so that we can become part of their dimension, which is the fifth dimension.
Okay.
Right now, we're in mostly the third, and the planet has been bombarded with energy from the sun during the latest sun cycle, and we're probably somewhere past the third dimension, heading towards or somewhere within the lower fourth dimension. And they're waiting for us to get up to the fifth dimension so that interface with us would be very simple, because it would be painful for them to interface with us being in the third dimension, because we're such a low vibrating civilization.
And are you able to kind of explain what the fifth dimension is? Because it's said a lot, and I've been told that it's not a physical situation. It's more of a conscious sort of a level that you reach as far as consciousness goes. Is that true?
Yeah. It's a level of personal vibration.
Okay.
Your body, just like the pens that you hold and the books you write, they're all vibrating at this relatively similar frequency. The fifth dimension is just them and whatever that they have around them are vibrating at a totally different frequency. So that when we look up in the sky, they could fly right overhead and we wouldn't even see them.
Mm-hmm.
That's very similar to the description that goes on with the description of of someone who lives in another dimension, could be right next to us and we wouldn't even know. Such as this other dimension that might be next to us that we wouldn't know. These might be our souls.
Explain that. What do you mean by that?
Well, every human has a soul, has a spiritual, don't want to call it a representative, but a spiritual being within them. And this soul is vibrating at a much higher rate than the bodies that the soul contains. Okay. And when the body gives it up, then the soul returns to the cosmos, and then it's determined what it is that they have to learn, what they have to know, and they're given a choice of coming back to the earth or going to a different place so that they can learn the life lessons that they have to learn so that they can eventually become the high functioning being that exists out there.
Okay. I've heard that too. I've heard that in relation to reincarnation, where if you haven't achieved everything that you needed to achieve or learned in this case, that you have the option to come back here to learn everything else that you need to learn. Is that tied to the same idea?
Same. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But our souls have the ability to make that decision on their own, because our souls know when they go into their soul dimension that they were able to learn certain things and not learn other things, and then they can select another life form that will teach them the things that they didn't learn when they were in their previous lives. It's like one great big factory.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, we can kind of go into you have a book called or it's a collection of blogs, Going Interstellar.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind talking about that, the purpose and what you've put together as far as that goes.
Okay. That was probably the most fun I ever had writing that book. What I did was I was a paranormal investigator, and the person who was running our investigation team wanted to branch out into UFOs. He also had a kind of an interest in it, and I did too, because my aunt was the secretary for the Astronomical League of America when I was a youngster. So she got me interested in astronomy and all that other stuff. So I thought, this is perfect for me. I'll get in here and I'll do everything that I need to do, and I'll try to make a splash. So what I set out to do was to write about what would it take for us as a civilization to travel to a different solar system. We're going to have to solve a whole bunch of problems. And what I did was I listed each of those problems on a yellow sheet and wrote a blog about each one of them, how we can solve those problems and what it would look like. So each week I started writing about the next topic, and I was posting them on my on our team's webpage. And we got about halfway through, and they decided not to hold their webpage up anymore. So I had started this big project of about 35 different subjects, and only posted about 7 or 8 of them. So I thought, I'll keep writing about them. And I keep writing about them, and maybe someday I'll find something I can do with them. So I wrote about each of those topics, the problems we would have to solve in order for us to get there, not for them to come here. And I finished up, and I was well into the UFO field, started giving speeches about various things. And I looked back into what I had done and realized I wrote a whole lot of information and tried to make the physics that was involved for us to solve those kinds of problems simple. So if I were to try to compile them and put them into one book, I'd have something very special here. So that's what I did, Going Interstellar. And it's a collection of blogs, but I tried to break them up into the easiest topics first that we can solve, and then the more difficult topics, because I have to write about the physics of them and explain that. And sometimes that isn't so easy. So it was a book that got technical, and then not so technical, and then technical again, and not so technical. And I tried to keep it as simple as possible. But boy, was it fun doing.
Are you able to give us some examples of some of those things that we would have to change visiting another planet? Some of the things you came up with?
Let's see. The first thing that we would have to do is plan for a trip that long. Right? I mean, it's going to take years to get there.
Method, of travel, right?
Yeah. And in order to plan for something that long, you have to know how long you're planning for. And you also have to know what kind of speed you can travel to get there. Well, traveling at the fastest speed that we have created to date, which is the speed that the Voyagers, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, traveled at, and they've now left our solar system, and they're out in the deep space.
Yep.
That was about 35,000 miles per hour. And if we were to travel at that speed, then it would take us 75,000 years to get to the nearest star.
Right.
It's like, wow. I mean, what kind of problem do we have to solve to do that? Well, we're going to have to figure out something in physics that would allow us to travel faster than light.
Right.
The only thing that would allow us to travel faster than light is a warp drive. So I wrote about warp drives and how they're made, and what the likelihood of us creating one is, and some of the other options for warp drives is perhaps we can travel through a wormhole.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had a wormhole, what would it take to open up the wormhole? Well, unfortunately, it would take all the power that we've created on the Earth for the last 2,000 years, all at once, to open up a wormhole. No, we aren't going to have that available.
No.
So where do we get the power from? And I had a whole nother problem. It was like that. One thing after another, and I had to solve a problem in order to talk about the next thing. And it was a blast. It really was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine the different scenarios that you would end up going through as you go step by step. What and I make the comparison because I think just even taking that outlook on it, where you're looking at how would we handle it, you may even answer some of the questions that you may have about why they're coming here, or some of the reasons there, and how to deal with them as well if they have any sort of moral compass. Because one thing I used to point out is that they have these crash retrievals where they're retrieving craft and sometimes non-human intelligence. And so is there a point in time where those ETs want those bodies back? And I compare it to if we went to another planet and we lost one of our guys, we probably want the body back.
Yeah, we bet we would. Yep.
And so how does that feel? And it made me question then, does that change the ET's perspective on humanity? So they come here with good feeling, good intent. They want to help out. They lose some guys. We keep the bodies and we don't return them. Do they at some point change the way that they look at us? it's one of the things that I've thought about.
Shoo.
And I don't know, you know what I mean? Some people are like, those are just vessels to them, so they don't really have any attachment, so they probably wouldn't care. But then I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, if it was the Greys, they could care less, because at least the shorter Greys, they are biological robots for all intents and purposes. They really don't have an awareness to speak of that would rival our awareness and the awareness of the people that created them, which are the tall Greys. So as far as the Greys go, there would be no desire to get the bodies back, because it's just a body. There's no soul involved. There's nothing. But the other entities that may happen to die or whatever else, I wouldn't be surprised if they had made multiple trips here, had various accidents, and went and retrieved their own people. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and you're saying retrieve their people before we got on the scene, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I believe that happens probably a lot. Yeah, that they send out a call and they come and get picked up. And it kind of leans to that if you think about the Virginia incident where they had the ET running around town. It was kind of hiding after the crash. And I think, they send out some sort of distress beacon or whatever it is, and then wait to come get picked up, just like we would. But it just goes into thinking about if these things have morals and, if they have feelings like that, because I feel like, if they did, then with these crash retrievals, the right thing to do if they were requesting to get these bodies back would be to hand the bodies over. As simple as that. But that's one of the things when I say, when the government, if they're speaking before us on our behalf, if they asked humanity for the bodies back, we would understand that, then we would hand them over. But the government, would they do that? And the answer is probably no. And then, so if it is no, then how does that change the perspective of those extraterrestrials going forward and the relationship?
It's possible that the Eisenhower meeting covered that topic.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that was right around the time, shortly afterward, that they had multiple crashes on the Earth and bodies were recovered. So if they brought it up at all, that would have been the time they would bring it up.
Yeah. So then goes back to, okay, so if they did bring that up, because they supposedly, so what some people say, they may have even agreed to allowing so many abductions to happen under, our noses. So that would kind of also point to maybe they did have the conversation about what to do in the event of retrieving bodies. And, that goes to, okay, would the powers that be agree to give those back? Because it's all about research and figuring things out and finding ways to make yourself better as a world power. So at any point, does America or any power that be even agree to those terms? You know what I mean? And then if not, these are the things that if they are discussing these things behind closed doors, we would never know as humanity to be able to weigh in and help make a decision on that. So just one of the things you end up thinking about. But with that,
I know if we had found out about that discussion, then just by virtue of having the discussion, they would admit that there's non-human intelligence on the planet already.
Right.
And they weren't about to do that. That's for sure.
Oh, well, yeah, we know that's not happening.
Yeah.
So in one of the ways that I think I may have said this to you before, is one of the ways that I feel like we can and should try to bring in disclosure is through tactics like CE5. and kind of, being able, because I figured that would be the way that if they were being interfaced by the governments, this would be a way to kind of get around that and be able to interface with them directly, or have them facilitate a disclosure moment for the world, essentially, at one time. How do you feel about CE5 and being able to use it in that fashion?
I think CE5 is a really good option for people who don't know how to contact ET. In other words, they haven't had close contact yet, but they really want something that they can say they've had some sort of contact. Let me get into a story here that I've come across. I was wanting to sit in on a CE5 event so that I could see my first UFO. And this was back in 2012. And one of the first things that happened is I would go to bed at night thinking of a particular question to ask. And when I woke up in the morning, there'd be an answer in my head. And I thought for the longest time that it was just me thinking things through my conscience, and just mulling over all the possibilities and having all night to spend on the problem at hand and just coming up with a solution by the next day. After a little while, the CE5, things started popping into my head in terms of voices, and not just I had a feeling or I think I remember or anything like that. Actually heard voices. And I would go to bed at night and say, if I were to attend the CE5 event, would you come and show yourself to me? And the answer I got the following morning was, groups not needed. Ask. In my head, a voice in my head. And I was laying there, it was dark out, and I was just laying there looking up at the ceiling fan, and groups not needed. Ask. Well, that took me back a little bit, because I had never had a voice like that in my head and didn't know what it was from. That was the beginning of the end for me to realize that I was being influenced by someone. And that someone was probably somebody either in the angelic realm or extraterrestrial. I didn't know who at that point, but I knew I was being influenced. So the next day I went out. I was working on my gardens and whatever else, and I would sit staring at the sky and ask in the most polite and humble terms that I possibly could that I would really like to see one of your ships. Maybe you can show me sometime. I promise you that I will tell everyone that I can. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll even put them in one of my books. And I did this every day for months on end. Then I was done with my first book. They Are Here, Volume 1. the night before, I was ready to send the book to Amazon and load it so that they could create a book for me. That's when I saw my first group of UFOs. There were 11 of them, and they were balls of fire. Very cool. Balls of fire. Just balls that looked like there was fire coming out of every single angle. And as they were moving through the air, they did not discharge smoke like you'd expect from fire.
Right.
So I knew it wasn't a comet or an asteroid. I had no idea what it was. They were hold your hand out, and they were approximately the size of your thumbnail at arm's length. So they were fairly big, and they came through and made a maneuver in the sky. Every single one of them, one at a time. Excuse me, two at a time they came through. And I said there were 11. At one point, only one came through, and I don't know what that was all about, but there was 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, or something like that. And but anyhow, I asked, and they gave me an answer. Well, it was my first UFOs. Then I went right into my volume 2 book, and that book went together pretty quickly. And at the end of that book, just as I was about to upload it into the Amazon computers, I was on vacation with my wife, and the next day I was going to do the upload, and the vacation was it took me to Lake Winnipesaukee in Vermont, New Hampshire, and a beautiful place. Oh, just so beautiful. And I was looking out over the water, and I remember saying that I was going to upload my book the next day as soon as I got home. This would be a good time to show me a UFO again. So I'm just sitting there, just my mind is blank, just looking out over the lake, and I heard, "Look up." So turned my head up, looked up, and there was a bright red. The only way I could describe it is a flat explosion of light. And from roughly the center of this light, this white streak took off and then disappeared over the horizon. And then when I look back at this red explosion of light, it had already collapsed. And the whole time that had occurred was about a second and a half.
So
it just went woof, zip, boom, gone. That's what they tried to show me. So it took me a while to figure out what it was, but I included that in my book in the very next day's download.
So what do you think? So the red part that closed in, what do you think that was? Sounds like a portal to me.
I think it was a portal.
Yeah.
It was a ship portal, because what came through was a ship going at some incredible speed.
Yeah. So
then I was writing book 3. Book 3, I was just about ready to finish up, and they had called me back into work so I could help them out on a project. So very early in the morning, I was usually working nights. So very early in the morning, I got up and drove into work. And as I drove over the Hudson River, I saw this bright red light, which I thought was the top of a tower. Along the Hudson River, there are lots of towers where wires go back and forth. And at the top of each of these towers, there's a bright red light for airplane traffic. And I thought that's what it was. I didn't pay too much attention to it. So I was driving, as I was approaching it, it looked awfully big to be a light on a tower, because if it were a light on a tower, it would have been a whole lot farther away up on the hill. So I thought, well, okay, whatever that is. And I hit my turn signal, my left turn signal, because I was going to go down on the interstate. And just as I did that, this red light, this red ball came charging at the car and moved in what I could describe as a sinusoidal way, just like that, and skipped off my windshield. And now I'm going 60 miles an hour towards this, and this thing came at me at some incredible speed, maneuvering, and skipped off my windshield.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. So what is that? So what do you think? So what do you think the reason for that is? Why do you think it was? Yeah, I don't get what the reason for that would be. What do you think?
I think that what they did was I promised to write about them. And as I was completing a book, they gave me a little reward, and I wrote about it.
That's nice. That's nice. So you also, so with that was the third book. And then we talked about going interstellar. Yeah. You also have one that was UFOs, Earthquakes and UFOs. And I'm in earthquake country here in California. What's the basis around that book, and what did you discover writing that book?
Okay. That book, that was the hardest book I've ever done. And the reason it was so difficult is because I tried to utilize the research that that I had already done and compiled on my maps to prove that when an earthquake was occurring, that there was a bunch of sightings around where those earthquakes were occurring. So I thought, oh, this is going to be simple. I already have the UFO sightings. So what I'll do is just go into the where they list all the earthquakes for the United States and do a search for the particular time that I have the sightings, and put them in the book, and then see where the sightings go. And what I expected to have is approximately 80% or so, that with each earthquake, larger earthquake above 4.5, with each larger earthquake, I'd have a collection of sightings. Well, that didn't work out so well. I couldn't prove that there was a bunch of UFO sightings around earthquakes.
Okay.
So the premise that I started the book on had nothing to do with UFOs being attracted to them. Nothing. So now what do I do? So I put my data away and thought, well, maybe I can come up with something here a little bit later. And I put all my stuff away in a drawer, and there's a stack. It was about this high of all the papers and maps and everything else. And I couldn't prove what what I wanted to prove. So one night I put it away for about 3 months, and I thought, maybe there's something else at play. Maybe the earthquake that was occurring wasn't what was attracting the UFOs. Maybe it was the fact that the earthquake somewhere else was starting to rumble a little bit, or at least build up to something big, and maybe there was a collection of sightings there. So instead of making maps around where the earthquakes were occurring, 5 days before and after, I increased it to 11 days before and after across the entire United States, thinking maybe something else would occur somewhere else in the United States that I could say, aha, there's a whole bunch of UFO sightings in St. Louis around the time where there's an earthquake in California. Maybe it's setting up for a different fault line. So I thought, all right, more data. So I put all that together and nothing. Couldn't prove a thing. So I thought, oh boy. So I got on my maps and laid them out edge to edge, along with my map of the United States, and laid them all out on multiple tables. I put tables together, and thinking that maybe when I walked by it sometime that I would see a pattern. Again, this would be the forensic pattern research, and I was looking for that pattern. Well, I had about 4 weeks, and my wife was starting to give me grief about taking up all the table space with all of my maps. Yeah. And so what happened was my dog was barking to go outside, so I went over and let her out, and then came back in the kitchen to look at the maps. And as I walked up to the maps, I stood at the doorway looking at the maps from a different angle. And all of a sudden, I saw these horizontal rows where there were sightings in and around varying places in the United States, but had nothing to do with earthquakes. So I had to come up with a reason. Why were these ships going back and forth over the same areas? One of the other things I figured was going over back and forth over the same areas was it would be
like mapping, or
totally unrelated to earthquakes, but what's it related to? And how come these advanced civilizations are going back and forth over the same areas?
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't need to do that because they have advanced computers, and they go over an area once and they don't have to go back over it because their computers absorb everything. So I had to come up with a reason. The only thing that I could come up with is the reason that the reason that they were going back and forth over the same place is the planet was changing.
Okay.
The rivers weren't changing. The people on the planets were changing. The people were starting to increase their vibration.
Okay.
That was the only thing that was happening that I could say were changing on a regular basis. So this thing where we're trying to ascend to a different level, going on the 5D, they were mapping it.
Wow.
So that's what I proved in the earthquakes and UFOs.
Wow. Well, that's cool, and it just shows that anyone out there, if you wanted to do something more for the space, would be to take some of the data that people have gathered out there, sift through it, and come up with theories and try to figure out which one might be the most plausible one, and it kind of helps this whole thing move forward as what you're doing, what you've explained tonight, Tom.
Yep.
What are you into lately? What's been going on? Anything since last time we talked? Any paranormal stuff or?
I'm not into too much paranormal because back in 2017 I had a heart attack, and I had to back off on a lot of the nighttime events that I was doing. And usually when you go out and do paranormal investigating, you're investigating until 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Now that's kind of rough. And I try not to do that, and try to take care of my body a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I backed off from going to events such as conferences, unless I could speak at the conference. And I got to go to some of them, and I will attend a conference if it's fairly close, and drive to and from there in a particular day. But I'm not going to stand there all day long and run myself into the ground. So I've been backing off on a whole lot of the things that I wanted to do. But since myself and Anna Manalo, wrote the Night Visitants. That's this book. That one, that was my story. That was a story of all the things that have happened to me at night, and why I came to the conclusions I did, and why I think that extraterrestrials are talking to me.
Wow.
Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I would say so. Definitely interesting stuff. So with that being said, so you haven't done any paranormal stuff recently. Let's see, what else did I have here? So you worked at Honeywell for 42 years?
Well, I worked at Honeywell for 36 years and worked in the Navy in electronics for 6.
Wow. Okay. How does that experience help you out in the research that you do now?
Right now, not much. Not a lot, because I'm not working with electronics. But what it did do was help me tremendously when I was writing Going Interstellar. That was all technical, and I was able to grab that and run with it and talk about all these technical things. And it also helped me in being able to explain the physics a lot better.
Okay, great. So are you working on any new books now? I know you have 5 right now.
Yeah. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I have 6 now.
6. What's the 6th one?
Night Visitants.
Okay.
So that one.
Book.
Yeah, that was number 6. That one came out last year.
Okay.
And I'm considering a book now, trying to get together a good outline, and possibly try to get together with Susan Hill. Susan.
Yes, definitely.
And sit and write with her and collaborate on a book about God.
Yeah. And so I guess what would be the perspective on that, since we have a few minutes left?
Yeah. One of the things that I woke up with in the morning after my travels was a description of what God was and who God was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nothing to do with the what I had in my mind for a God that they told me about. That I was raised Catholic. It had nothing to do with it. It wasn't even close. And their description of God, it was so big that we can't even wrap our head around how to describe what God is.
Right.
It's so big. It's so huge. And that's what they tried to tell me, and gave me the impression that maybe they wanted me to write about it.
Yeah, there is that. This is it's when you get into the whole religion part here within this phenomena, that's where the taboo stuff starts to come in. That's where people are more afraid to kind of get into that aspect of it. And I noticed in the national news, when they talk about these private meetings, these skiffs that they go into, a lot of these people are starting to, or have always believed, that this extraterrestrial thing has a religious tone to it. And I would always try, when I would hear that, I would try to figure out, well, in what way? Like, how are these things now angels and demons versus extraterrestrial? Like, what is the real outlook on that? And it'd be good to have someone kind of go into that.
Okay. What the extraterrestrials have is not a religious tone. They have a spiritual tone. And it's quite different from what we on Earth think is a religious approach. We compartmentalize everything within our religious teachings, and we aren't really allowed to look outside of that without permission. And each religion tries to keep their own compartments available so that it doesn't infringe on another religion.
Right.
What ET does is their religions don't exist. They look at God as one.
Okay.
They are part of that God.
Right.
And
so there aren't necessarily, for them, it's not necessarily stories attached to a belief or ideal. It's just the fact that there is this higher entity, which we'll call God or whatever you want to call it, that is the creator. However you want to look at it, whatever religion you come from, I think everyone agrees that the one thing is there is something higher than us that has created this, and attach whatever name you want to that. But
yep. Definitely, God is the number one thing that they think about, and when they discuss anything with us, they will discuss it from the viewpoint of we are all one.
Yeah,
meaning we're all God.
Well, that's an awesome concept. I'm interested in seeing where that goes. And yeah, you're right. Previous guest we had on here, Susan Hill, had her here a couple of times now. So you guys are good friends. It'd be cool, and you're going to work on that together. It'd be cool to get you guys back on the show together, maybe to discuss that. How do you feel about that?
I love it. Love it. Susan and I have been talking a lot. And she's doing a lot of work now. She's still of work age. I'm not. And we can't get our time to work together on something. So I suppose when she has her downtime for selling, that we are going to try to collaborate and get something going. and then set goals for each of us so that we can go out on our own and not have to work with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad that we have someone like you, curating evidence, putting evidence together, taking the evidence that's out there, which I think a lot more people should do, and come up with your own theories on what you think is going on. I mean, because that's really all we're doing when we have these conversations, is putting our best theories out there, and hopefully some of these things stick. So what do you have going on, Tom, that you want to let everybody know about? Where can they find you?
Okay, well, I have a few conferences that I'm going to be heading towards. My son is going to be doing the one conference in Gettysburg, PA, and that is at the end of this month. Let's see, what's the name of that? The Gettysburg Bash. That is for the good of the military.
Okay.
And all of their proceeds go to military. And then I'll be at New Jersey Paranormal, which is probably one of the biggest paranormal fairs I have ever seen. And it is just loaded with people. They'll pack in 10,000 people to walk through that school. It is just incredible.
Yeah.
Never seen anything like it.
It's huge.
But I will be there for Saturday for that one. It's too much for 2 days for me. But and then I have a couple of libraries, and I'm giving speeches at libraries to try to get information out to people who, can't go to conferences. So
Right.
I hit all the public libraries and, talk to people about UFOs.
That's awesome too. That is another awesome thing. And then again, another idea for something that someone else out there could do. Going to your local library and maybe holding a weekly or monthly thing, like Tom is mentioning here. That's awesome information there. So appreciate you coming in, and glad that you're out there doing that sort of work, helping humanity get that much closer to where we need to go. Appreciate you coming in. I got to get you back. And when I do, let's try to do it. If you guys are working on the project, we'll talk more about that behind the scenes.
Okay.
All right, Tom. Have a good rest of your
Sounds
night.
great.
Thanks for coming in. I enjoyed you, and you have a great rest of your night, and have a great week as well.
Thanks for having me, Rob, and say hi to all your friends in chat.
Definitely. You have a great rest of your night, Tom Conwell, ladies and gentlemen. We will be right back here in just a moment. We're going to take a pause for the calls and get ready to jump into hour 3 tonight, which we should be having our guy, Travis Moose. So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see if we get the magic guy to show up tonight.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
right, everyone. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 3. We're almost home. We're in the home stretch right here, heading around third, going home. And we're going to get into some really good stuff this hour. So I'm glad you stuck around. I'm glad you came in with us and hung out for the Saturdays after hours. Space travelers, you guys already space traveling. Consider taking the next step. Join the club. That's right. You can join the Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 by joining our Patreon. Consider doing that, please, por favor, as we go ahead and get ready to bring in our guy right here, the man that you see the bottom of the screen, the guy we always love to talk to on a Saturday, and that's none other than Mr. Travis Moostus. Travis, how are you? How are you, sir?
There we go. Hey,
Yeah.
It's good to be back. A long
Good to be
time.
back. That's right. That's right. Glad to have you back, man. And what have you been up to lately, man? What's been going on?
Oh, I've been so busy. I just it's been so busy that I lost track of time. And yeah, like I said, I've been getting a lot done with both of my, projects and jobs and things that are going on in life. And like I said, I got a long week of it looks like work week training kind of deal. And yeah, it's like I said, it's moving forward. Everything, all the projects and stuff. I can't give away too much on the tougher subjects right now. And I should say with what we're doing. And I should say we'll get more information on that when the time is right. And But other than that, though, like I said, in between all this and work, and I got, like I said, I've been just repairing a lot of vehicles and stuff around the house and stuff. Fix the truck and a couple other things, and I got a nice car going and stuff. So I'm happy about that. And I got my book here, the new book. So there it is, folks. The Pasquale Musta. So Wichita.
Let me bring you up. Let me bring you up here. Go ahead, show it up.
The Buffalo Warriors, the tale of the last great war. So check that out, folks. There it is.
Yes. Yeah. You guys gotta do that.
Fully illustrated, fully colored. Like every pretty much every page has like colored illustrations on this, and it's like I said, it's awesome. It's tons of wild, like it's like I said, it's the war, it's humanity versus the robots, and it's epic. It's an epic tale, like I said. So it's available on Amazon. It's cheaper in price, like $20. So there you guys go. It's out there for all y'all.
Yes, please go out and support Mr. Travis Mustus on these endeavors, right? It's and it's so exciting to see you excited for your work. You know what I mean? And I'm excited for you as well. So I'm just keep up the great work, man. Keep putting out really good stuff, because I think it has its place in what it is that we're doing here. So I'm totally glad that you are actually doing that. So what's man, it's been pretty quiet on the UFO front here lately in the last few months. Have you, as far as paranormal is going, have you had any experiences lately? I know I haven't had anything since I showed the orbs off a few weeks ago, but that's about it for me.
All right, so all right, so I was doing a lot of night security as well with in regards to the areas that were findings and like I should say unmarked graves and such, and there was a few of the other night securities that were like coming up to me and they're like, hey, I just experienced this stuff going on over here, and come hang out with me, and you know what I mean. So we're waiting around. Nothing happened when I was there, but he said he was like getting he's seeing like apparitions running around and stuff like that. So he had to like take his flashlight and go inspect the area, make sure nobody was like wrecking things or desecrating the grounds, right? So
right.
But yeah, he was experiencing things like that. So it was very active and very in that sense very high frequency, high energy. Like you could feel that, like it was very I should say very magnetic, very pulling. But as for the UFOs, they've been around. They're around. Like I've been like in my spare time, like I said, I've had a few nights where I've done night security and such, and so I've been keeping my eyes to the sky and really watching and keeping tabs and stuff like that when I can, right? Because most of the nights and days it's been kind of like rain and forecast, like it's been nonstop, like with the on and off, like overcast of the clouds and the rain and thunder. And so with that being said, I sent you a few videos if you want to take a look at the one prior to the link you sent me. And
bring those up here.
Woo! Let's go, folks.
Exactly. Yeah, I love when you send stuff over, man. You always send us some good stuff, man. So let me see.
They love it too. They apparently love it too. So
yes, Travis.
Call me the UFO guy. I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm just happy to share these with you guys. Let's go.
Let's see. Okay, I see. Let me see. Okay, that's the one we showed before. Okay, here we go.
And this was like I believe this one it was like the end of last month, towards the end of June, when we're taking the break. We're just like, started our first couple of weekends off. Yeah.
Okay, let me bring this up. I was trying to see, at first it looked like it was a blank video, but I see there are things in it. Let me see here.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody go leave a like right now. Go leave a like on this video.
Please go. Yeah, let's do that. Please go put a like on the video if you haven't already, which you should have. If you haven't already, please go ahead, hit the like button. Let's take one moment. We're going to patiently wait. We're not going to show anything yet. Please, if you have not hit the like button, just right now, take a moment, go ahead and hit that like button, and then let's go ahead and continue with the show. Appreciate you. Let me see. Okay, here it is. All right, and let me play it. Which I'll point out some things here. So these are the things right here. If you guys can't see, and you can see that's drifting. That's crazy. Right here. And where's the other one? It's gone. And is your camera still at that point, or?
Yeah. All right. So what ends up happening is my camera ends up, so I'm following it, and then my camera ends up getting shut off towards the end. Like it actually shuts my camera down from like continuing to video it. So it was like one of those ones that I just like laugh, and I'm like, yeah, it shut my camera down. Cause even when I zoomed out, it was just still like a blank screen, black screen. So, but yeah, so like, but this one was pretty cool. So.
All right. Yeah. Is that 4? Let me see. There was like 4 right here. Are these all individual things here?
Just the ones that are stationary are stars in the background.
Okay,
And
so,
so that's for reference, so you guys could see how that the ship is traveling across. And,
okay.
Yeah, that's why I do that. Yeah. But yeah, you can see it clearly moving, and it's like I said, it's moving a faster pace than any satellites are like high up in the atmosphere. Like you can barely get them on camera, and they're moving slow. And this thing was like down pretty low orbit, and kind of, you know, it was like I said, it was going by, and this one was going from south to north, which is kind of like the opposite of my usual catches, like towards and how this and how they've been usually flying. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool.
Okay, and there were some other ones you sent, right? I saw.
Yeah, the next one. So this one's a little bit more recent.
Okay,
Yeah, that was the ghost picture. Yeah. So okay, back one more. One more. This one, yeah. So that's a tower there. Sorry, a satellite tower on the side with the red light above it. But then you can see the ship moving in the background, and you could see it like you can actually see this one kind of like start to go up and down a little bit, and kind of like, and it has this like,
I think it went to the next video.
Okay, go back. Oh no, this is it. So just keep watching this one, and you'll see this. You'll see I zoom in on it and how bright it gets, and I follow it, and you can literally see it like it has this like path where it starts to and I get to 100 zoom on it, and that's like as best as I can get it, 100 times zoom there with that, and you can see it literally like start to like kind of as I zoom out, you can see it start to like, it has its like little up and down kind of wave of flight. But
that is bananas. And for reference, what is that red light down there?
Oh, that's a top of a tower, satellite tower. So it's just like, so no helicopter flies into that, right? So
got it. Yeah. Okay, this is crazy.
And you can see it like it flies by. It's so awesome because like it's pretty clear. It's very clear. And
this is the object, right?
Yeah.
And those are stars that it just passed by.
Yeah. For reference, that's cruising past. Yeah. So you could see that stationary stars versus what's happening there, right?
Yeah.
So it's a nice long video. It's like a 2-minute long video. And then it flies off and it disappears. And like I said, I can't, I can no longer see it after that point when I even try to zoom in and stuff, and it's gone. So
that's some good stuff, Travis. That's some good stuff,
right,
buddy.
All right. And then the next one, I called it out so you can play with the audio, because the next one I called it out, man, and it showed for all of us. Like I was like, yeah, this is for us to see here, because This, you know, you get a good response, man. It's rare on occasion, you know what I mean? So this is it. I'm like looking at the sky and I'm like, all right, so we're gonna get a flash here from the Galactic Federation. So if you want to, you can literally turn on the audio here, and it's like,
it should be up.
Okay.
Hopefully we get a beautiful light up. Come on, Galactic Federation, show us your presence. Yes.
What? Travis with the receipts.
Folks.
You watch that video to yourself there later, Rob. Just kidding.
Travis bringing those receipts, buddy.
They're lighting up for us. Hopefully we get one more.
Don't tell me it does it again.
No, that was beautiful.
No, that was the beautiful one. That one was the one I got for that. You know what I mean? It was
Look, it's kind of a little bit in the back there.
Yeah, we're gonna
a little bit. It's gone. Yeah.
We rewind that one.
Please do. Show everybody.
Large flash. Hopefully it flashes again.
Yeah. Because I was getting a lot of activity that night, right?
And he's gonna call the UFO that's just gonna show up. That is crazy.
Hopefully we get a beautiful light up. Come on, Galactic Federation, show us your presence.
And this is for everyone here, like, you know, watching.
Yes.
That should go viral. Yes.
Woo! They're here,
folks.
They've been here and watching over all of us.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
They're lighting up for us. Hopefully we get one more. No, that was beautiful. We're lucky
it was a
we
blessing.
Got one.
That's what I mean. But it also shows the ability of having that state of mind to be able to call these things in, or be able to kind of connect on that wavelength, that frequency.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yep. All right. Okay. I see you, Travis. I see you, buddy. I see you.
That was good, right? You know,
That
like I
was
said, I'm
excellent,
happy
dude.
I was able to bring that out here and show you all. And, you know,
that was excellent, man. Appreciate that. And yeah, man. So you're seeing UFOs, man. You're calling them in, man. How more awesome can it be? So I'm so glad that someone has come on and been able to show that happen, where you reach out to it or you put the purpose out there, and then the thing shows up. Because if that's something that you've done it right there, but imagine if we were doing this, you know, some sort of live stream for the world to kind of access, and you did the same thing where you were able to call that in. When was that video taken?
that was like when was it? It was a little more than week and a half ago, or like last week, I think. At the best, I'm gonna have to look at the time again, but yeah, like it was. I had it ready. I had it ready to go there the one Saturday, and I was like, okay, I'll just keep it until I come back on.
Yeah, that is awesome, dude. So, yeah. I mean, they're out there, right? They're out there. They're up there, and this is just one more piece of proof that kind of shows people who may be on the fence, or someone who's never seen anything. Shows you that you may have the ability. Well, you do have the ability. Is just knowing how to get into that mindset to where you're able to make that contact. But I think that's awesome, man. I'm more and more amazed by CE5. I remember back when I first heard about CE5 a while back, years ago, and I just thought how it didn't make sense that could be something that you could do. And this is before I got into the whole consciousness side of this. You know, obviously learning about the consciousness and how that connects and how that works opens you up to realizing that CE5 is definitely something that you can do. But it keeps amazing me whenever I see a video of it happening, because it's essentially whatever thought you put out there was being answered right there in that moment.
Yeah, it was the CE5, and just like how it's like a deep connection with the universe, and just putting that out there. And it was every time I get one, it's a very unique time. You get that. It's definitely a very unique energy that flows around, and how it's like a very connective force, that just kind of, all of a sudden you just feel that connection to the certain part of the like the sky, or like it's like the universe that's like calling to you, right? And there's one moment it happened. I didn't get this one on camera because it was so, like, it just caught me off guard, and it was like towards the south, and all of a sudden there was this, like, it was like a triangle formation of these three. It was a triangle formation of three orbs, and they were all orange. And I was like, whoa, okay, is that a star formation? I'm just gonna take a picture of this because that doesn't sit right with me at this moment. So then I go to grab my phone and pull it out, and they're gone. And I'm like, oh, it was some, they were just like, like trying to pose as a star formation. Didn't think I'd catch on, but
that's the message too, right? That's the other message, which is take a picture first and figure it out later. Just like you're grabbing your camera in the moment, like you're supposed to do. And just like you said, is this a star formation? Well, I'm just going to take a picture of it. That's the mindset that people should have out there, because you never know. Just like you said, then you look at it and it's gone. So it's like, fleeting moments.
Yeah, it was like it was really that. It was a fleeting moment, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, it was such a good formation too. Like, it was so bright, and it was so picture perfect, right? And it was just that energy and everything. It was a moment, and then just pull up the camera and they're gone. It was just hilarious. Like, I still get a good laugh out of it. You know what I mean? Like, they knew it was gonna be taken, right? The photo.
Yeah, it's powerful though too when you think about it, because being able to show proof of having that sort of connection, showing that, okay, humans can actually make a connection with these ETs by doing the CE5 protocol. It just, when you realize that, it's like, okay, anybody can go out there and do it, right? So if you have the right mindset, or you can get into that headspace where, through meditation or whatever methods you may use to kind of put you there to be able to make that contact, that this is something that you can literally go out there and do at any time. And this is what I hear from more and more, CE5 people who do CE5, and apparently my camera went out on me here. So go ahead and talk, Trav, while I get this worked out.
Yeah, I've been doing CE5s for a number of years now. Before that, it was like just continuous skywatch, and that's actually when I started just having my after I started getting to know the sky, I started seeing these anomalies flying about and going across the sky, and one of them got real low and close one time that it was noticeable, right? That was something else. So of course it drove my curiosity and interest in getting some of this I should say these instances on camera, and I should say it reinforced my I should say my beliefs and spirituality towards the Star Nation, and my need of spirituality, my heritage, and where we come from, and that deeper connection to them through the ceremony and that world, and I've always carried that with me. So like whenever I'm out there and I'm looking at the universe and staring at our galactic creation, our universe, and opening myself up to that energy, right? It's with the highest vibrational intent, and it's always with that wonder and that connection to that world, and that I should say, and that connection drives that I should say that visitation, or the flybys, or the I should say recognition or from them, they're like, hey, we're here too, we're connecting on that level, and I feel like they're always around, and it's up to us to make that connection again and find that clarity in life with the universe and that path, and to spread that higher vibrational frequency in all the facets of life that we do, every step of life that we take in this walk, in this journey. And that's really a part of that, and reflection of that into the universe.
Yeah, and that's excellent, excellent information there, Travis. I'm glad that you were able to go ahead and give that. So, yeah, I mean, there's in the place that we're at right now, discovering all these things that we're capable of doing. It's just a beautiful time because, just like I say, I always, for a person who's been lifelong, and that's not me because I've, come into this within the last 5 years, I'd say, as far as understanding what this is. I mean, I've always understood something's out there for sure, and I've always had that mindset, but to be actually exposed to these things and talking to a lot of different people that have different perspectives, it kind of opened me up. But it's been so recent that I was on that other side that I can kind of appreciate, the things that I'm finding out. Versus someone who's been lifelong in this and has known this the whole time. I can remember a time when I looked at CE5 and thought that this has got to be ridiculousness, you know what I mean? And then getting to a point to where you kind of unpeeled the onion to a layer to where you're now aligning. It's weird because I never thought some of these things that I now know to be true could actually be possible. And it kind of makes me think about the other people out there who are still in that space where they still look at it this way, and they haven't, had that moment or been exposed long enough to be able to start peeling back their own onion. You know what I mean? And I think, and that's like our own individual disclosure process, I guess, is what you can consider that being. But it just, for me, it's just amazing to see that this unspoken consciousness connection with ETs and being able to do this period is a real thing, man. It's just, it blows my mind every time I think about it.
Right. And it, for me, every time that, I do see crafts and I do see these different, shapes in them, or I do figure out more information, or I get more different kind of like, trajectories and how they fly and or different formations and things. It always amazes me, and it's for me, that's just part of like the whole, it's just keeps to, like you said, it opens up that the layers, right? And then every layer reveals some more little bit of that information and more of it's just the beauty of the crafts, right? Of the universe. And like I said, the connection of the universe and that understanding, the knowledge all comes with it, right? So it's wonderful.
Yeah. And then, okay. So, and going back to the onion, so you've peeled back so many layers, and you're at this realization that you can do these things, and you're being shown videos like the one we just watched. So you kind of have proved it to yourself, and it's like, so okay, now looking forward at the other things that will be uncovered, like what else is there to uncover then, right? There's got to be so much more, and it's just, if you've gotten to the point of realization that CE5 is a real thing, it's like, it just blows my mind where this could still take us. Layers, exactly, Shelley Montgomery. And welcome, Shelley Montgomery. There's a lot of people came in since I said the names earlier, and I just kind of want to make sure I shout them out. So Shelley, thanks for coming in. Dead Fish Cheese Spread, thanks for coming in. Warden Dragon, Country Carpenter, let's see, Bomber, Christine, Kira, Susan Place, and Sierra, Philip Blair, Grandmaster UV. So everybody else who's joined since earlier, is that we had a lot of people come in late. Appreciate you guys showing up. And yeah, so it's crazy where this could go, right? Because once we get disclosure, once we're on the other side, and we've had that enlightenment, and we've tapped into these abilities, these secret abilities that we have, it's like that can't be the end. There still has to be more to go, and it's like imagining what that more is. You know what I mean? It's what keeps me like excited and just like because I see things happening for humanity, and I see us being awakened like slowly but surely, and it's like it's crazy to go on this trip. Great time to be alive.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I consider it a blessing, right, to see these things, and like I said, through my spirituality and connection, that's what it is for me. It's like it's an acknowledgement to that, I should say, that connection of that, right, and that belief, and so like I said, I consider it a blessing in that sense. So when I'm looking at all these ships and these crafts, and it's more, it becomes more and more apparent over time. Like I'm expecting them to become more colorful and more of the shapes to start showing more uniqueness and in design, and it's like you said, it's a wonderful time to be alive. So I'm just happy I got to bring these on to show you guys, so it's excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for all being here.
And just thinking about, because if you look like on the small scale, this is just something happening to us right now in this time, right? And we know it's a big moment, but think about afterwards. Think about on the other side of this, once disclosure is hit and is long and gone in the past, where we have been into this new ideal that we're in, as far as humanity goes, and the generations that come after us, how they'll look back on this moment. Like I think we probably don't understand like how important. We kind of do because we say it, but I think like the work and the things that we're doing is going to be so important, and so in the later generations will be so grateful, right, for what it is that we sat here and did, because we're really at a point where this could go a few different ways. It could go where we ignore what's going on and we just go along with the current state of affairs and how society is currently run, and we make no changes to what's going on. We don't shift our path, or we do like we're doing now, and this whole shift of consciousness that we're having as humanity ends up being written about or praised 500 years from now when they look back, and whatever they end up naming this moment, because they'll name this moment something in the future. But it's amazing that we're being allowed basically to play a part in it. And that's why I say it's important for anybody who can do anything. Just like we talked to our guest Tom Conwell tonight, and one of the things that he said is he does these meetings at the local library where he kind of talks to people about the phenomena and kind of opens people's eyes to that. And I thought that was actually a really great thing that anybody could do. It's like a book club or anything else that you might have, just taking some time out of your day, to gather up a few people and kind of do something to help spread the word. And I think it's people that do things like that are really helping move the needle. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, like that's cool. Like that he was mentioning that he had certain little talk groups that he was able to spread the information and word that's like excellent. Any like bit of that, right, is a good work and effort towards it, right, and expressing that and opening up the topic to people that might find that medium of I should say setting to be a better way of entering into the subject, I should say. But
exactly.
yeah. So but like what we're doing on here, like you said, is great importance too, right? And then people can come back and see this video, or like I said, I saved it specifically for tonight. I didn't share it on any other media or anything. I saved it to present here because I felt like it's the better place for it.
We appreciate that too. And yeah, it's the collective movement. Really, it's what everyone is doing individually. And that's why I say anything you can do would help and matters, right? Even if it's just adding your story to the database of stories that we have, so we can kind of build a bigger picture of what is going on. But I think the reward won't be realized until probably long after we're gone, as far as how important it was even the small things that we're doing right now. So it's like it should show everyone out there that, you know, regardless if you think your what you may consider your small story, that it you know, it still is very important to the overall subject and where it is we're trying to get here. And let's see. Shelley Montgomery had a question for Travis. Travis question: Dark shadows say it's just two darting. Do you get that?
Like when I was talking about the apparitions moving around the sites. Yeah, they were just like it was like he said, it was like it was moving from the side, from one side, not going back and forth, but it just moved from one side to the other. And he thought somebody was like wrecking the areas or something, and so he got out to go check it. And you know, but like he said, there was nothing, no one around or any kind of animals or anything like that. So he was pretty tripped out and got me to go over there and inspect it. I think that's what you're referring to, or if you're referring to like something else, I'm not too sure. But
yeah, if that answers your question, Shelley, let us know. If not, let me know and we'll take a look at it. Travis, two shadows were farting.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Sorry. Next question. That's hilarious, though.
Might be some chat conversation, yeah. So, okay, darting.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Autocorrect, yeah, believe me. Hey, Area 51, thanks for coming on in, buddy. Long time no see, buddy. You know we are bringing the heat and never bringing the sleep, buddy. As you always say, Area 51 is awesome, man. I'm glad he came through. Glad you came through, buddy.
Oh yeah, yes, this is live. Yeah,
so,
I see it now.
So yeah, it's just like I was saying, it's very important time that we're in, and it just, for me, it just, every time I sit and think about it, like, it motivates me to get up and do the next thing. I mean, really, you know, my focus has always been humanity first. And that's my whole approach to this, is like the things that we do has to move the needle for humanity, or it just doesn't matter. And I'll keep it the truth. Like the intent has to be there, that what you're doing is to help move this thing forward. And you know, I'm just glad to see and glad to talk to different people that are doing exactly that, right? And you're doing the same thing, bringing the things you brought forward. You probably, for a lot of people, with the video that we just showed, it was probably the first time some people have seen that we really do have the ability to call out the craft and call them in. Like, they probably heard about it, but they've never seen it. So being able to bring that receipt to the table is a really awesome thing, and really helps move it forward for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Like for me, that was, you know, it was I wanted to share it here and make sure, like, it's part of that, like you said, it's part of that moving the needle forward. And for my people, it was always that it was a revelation that we eventually, you know, return and join back with the sky world beings and be a part of that next level of existence and evolution of humanity, and we'd evolve into that level of existence. So it was like they would come back and help us evolve and elevate our technologies and you know, go to that next level. So it's going to be, like I said, it's part of that process eventually in time, right? So it's like, you know, I feel like this, you know, moment in time in the universe is meant to be, and to be here and share it was a pleasure. And you know, bringing forward all this, like, you know, I brought a number of videos now, but you know, to be here and like you said, show that the reality of it, right, is a blessing in itself. So I'm so thankful for everyone here that got to be here in this time and we got to share this moment.
You know, and the thing that messes with me about this is that even though that this is something that we're seeing, and we're in a lot of, like tonight, we're showing CE5, an example of CE5. So it just blows my mind that the national media, right, that they don't pay attention to stuff like this, because it would seem that if I was investigating or wanting to prove something or disprove something, that I would go to the sources to kind of figure out what's going on. And while doing that, if I'm presented with things that have receipts to them that show that these things are real and true, that this would be something that would make the news, right? And I just think, the stuff that does get covered on UFOs and ufology are just more of, I heard someone say this, or so I know someone that did this, versus hey, look at all the receipts that we have, right? Because if you're really trying to make this issue something to bring to the table to show everyone that this is real, I would think that these would be the receipts that they would show. A clip from this show where we had someone who showed CE5, or we have someone who showed a shadow person, and these things that have receipts to them, that I understand the reason why, they try to separate evidence as far as only accepting evidence from like things that came from military cameras or different vantage points. But at the same time, if they did take a moment to kind of look at the evidence that regular people are bringing forward, that we might get to the point where, we may expedite the process of bringing this news to everyone around the world, right? And kind of confirming for a lot of people some of the things that they may have thought or felt, right? So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it conflicts with a lot of folks, for what they believed, and I've actually had a lot of folks like, eventually they came around to, right, and they started to understand, like, okay, yeah, there's something else going on here, especially when the government started talking a lot about it, and even like, some of the, people that I've known never believed in it started talking about it to me and telling, asking me what I thought and how I've, what's going on, and in certain situations, like what comes to like native connections and beliefs and stuff. So I've been there for that, right? And especially when it comes to I should say the ancient connections of it, right? Like the belief of where a lot of these I should say a lot of the prayers and connections to that come from, and how they played a role throughout our time in our history out here, and yeah, it's been, like I said, it's part of like who we are as my culture, my people, and like I should say our tribe, the Neo-Wak, and that's where we're, like I should say, our beliefs come from, and our connections to the sky and stars. And so for us, it's been day one. We've always thought that way, and grew up that way, and felt that way about the sky beings, the star spirits, and it's been that guidance from them that we still are here today, and that we still thrive in our ways, in our spirituality, in our connections to the universe and the lands and the animals and the elements, I should say. So, but I just wanted to say that, and but like for the people out there, like that are looking at this and they're trying to figure out all this information, and I'm just letting them know that it's a process. It's a process throughout life and time, and people will find the information that they need to help them figure out that puzzle that's going on within themselves. And that's honestly where I'm. If I lend a helping hand to that with these videos, and I'm happy that I did that, and if I lend a helping hand to the whole subject of the UFO phenomenon with what knowledge and videos and things that I have, I'm happy to do that too, right? And for me, it's been a part of us, so like I should say, the Native people and the Neo-Wak, and it's like I said, it's for us, it's been the day one kind of thing. So we're pretty, it's nothing new to us, but I'm happy to share this information with you guys and make it a reality for us out there, because it is a reality for us here, and my people.
Yeah, and it's it's an art, just like we always say, there's an archive here. When you think about what that means, that means a lot of curated data, a lot of curated stories and curated evidence that people have brought forward on different episodes that we've had here. And I've always said that to Travis, not Travis, but Preston Dennett, as far as all the data that he has captured, and literally you can go there and sit there for hours and go through all sorts of great data that he's kind of put together and maybe given some theories on, and then that's the next stage of it. But just having a place to be able to go to kind of sift through different stories, scenarios, and evidence that has been presented on this subject. And that's why I always say, like, disclosure, there is no reason to wait for the government, because they probably have the actual craft, the physical craft. They probably have the physical beings. But even without that, we as experiencers have pretty much everything else that there is to it. So we don't have the craft or the bodies, but we have the stories, we have the descriptions, we have the videos, we have the pictures, we have encounters, everything across the board that you would want to kind of put the check mark on this as being authentic and real. And that's why I do it. That's why I do it. Just being able to be a part of putting that together and getting the stories out here in the message. And that's what we're doing here. So let me see. Let me look in the chat. Thought I saw something in here. Okay, no. Area 51 is just saying, what a team tonight. Rob G and Travis, let's go. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. It's always great when we have Travis on, guys. You already know that. Travis brings receipts when he has them, and also just a great wealth of knowledge and perspective, when it comes to being able to take what we talk about and then see it from a native perspective. It's just invaluable, and it's something that is going to also be one of the things that helps us understand what it is that we're dealing with.
Yeah, good thing you mentioned when I can, because, like I said, I've been dealing with just different weather patterns. This year has been a lot more rain than usual, so I get a lot of overcast. So when it's nice outside and I get the chance to be out there and just, watching and observing and like I said, opening up that pathway through the mind and through the heart and connecting with that silence in between. And so it's like, when I get that chance, it's a blessing in itself. And when I can get a video, or if it's allowed, right, like obviously that time they showed presence for us, like, because that was my intention, was like I wanted to bring that here for us to see and show everybody the reality of that, right? And so like when I got that, I was like, oh, what a blessing, like, thank you so much. Like, I was so happy that I got that for all of us to see. And it was awesome, right?
And so look, they're saying in the chat, Bomber saying it's the moose deuce juice, and Definitely She Spread saying the moose deuce is loose. Yeah, and Area 51, Robin Trav, you bring the heat, never the sleep, and that's exactly what I was saying earlier. That's Area 51 has coined that phrase, so I steal it from him occasionally, and so. That's awesome, and just glad that we could do this, because like I said, it's all about moving the needle. That's why I do it. Each conversation should do that, or if it doesn't, maybe you should look at what you're doing, like, and take a different approach, because people's time is valuable, and I think when it comes down to being a part of disclosure, the first question I asked, and when I came into this space, I would talk to a few different hosts of different shows, and I would ask them, first thing would be like, what is your idea of post disclosure? Do you have a plan for post disclosure? Like, or trying to figure out what the focus was, like what the person's real focus, like, why are you doing this? Are you doing this just for notoriety? Are you doing this for to have a cool place to hang out, or are you really, or are you doing it for the people? You know what I mean? Are you doing it for your descendants and the people that come down the line? Because I think that's the mindset and perspective that you should have, being that this is so one of the most important moments in humanity's history, and what it's going to mean for humanity going forward. Like your intent, you should have a real genuine intent on wanting to progress the narrative.
There we go. Yes, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. I 100% agree with that, and that's the whole goal here in that sense. So.
Yeah. Which is why we make a great team, man, and which is why this is always something that people look forward to and get enlightened by. A lot of people enjoy the conversations that we have, and then getting, we'll come off hour 1 and 2 of having a deep conversation about whatever we're talking about, and then being able to bring you in on hour 3 and then get your unique perspective on the conversation is always awesome to be able to do. And it's definitely something that helps, man. So keep the good work up, man. And what do you got going on this week? Anything you want to tell us about?
Like I said, I've been very busy. I got a lot of different kind of like work week training to go to in terms of like archival evidence and things like that. So I've been it's another step to that. And yeah, so that's where I'm going to be going with that. And I got the book out, so I've been proud to be selling that. And everybody's been giving me great reviews on that. And I'm so happy that the project's done. So the whole story's there for everyone to go enjoy. The Mars Bug Wars, right down to the Pascoawi Mustas, the Buffalo Warriors, the Tale of the Last Great War. So go check it out. Thank you so much, everybody. And like I said, when I can get more and bring more on, I'm more than happy to. And like I said, I'm being here tonight and showing you guys all the excellent videos and footage. I'm going to continue to keep my eyes out there and surveilling the skies. And if I get lucky enough or blessed to see it and bring it back for you all, I will. And thank you so much for tonight, and thank you for this moment in time, Rob, and everyone out there watching Space Radio, all the fans and viewers out there. Thank you for leaving the likes. And yeah, it was what an excellent time, dude. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, exactly. And I thank you, man. I really do appreciate you coming in and doing what you do. And we will continue to do what we do here. This is actually, though, the last, and I'll say this since you're here, this is the last show. Well, no, tomorrow will be the last show that we do here on the After Hours, and until after the break. So the next After Hours show won't be for till about August 10th or something like that, right? So we'll kind of be off for a while. So I'll be seeing you soon, though, Travis. We'll be talking the whole time, man. So, but then we'll be back in full effect for the After Hours on the other end of the break, man. So I'll say that to you before we go.
All right, to the adventures in between then and now, and from now and then, right? So,
yes, sir.
Yes. I guess that's all for now, everyone. Examaga, take care out there, and love and light to everyone out there. Connect with the universe on the highest frequencies, and open that wonder to the universe, and have that experience.
That's right, Travis Musus, everyone. Thanks for coming, man. Talk to you soon.
Yes. Take care, Rob.
Later. All right, yeah, guys. So So this weekend is our break, as you know, for Space Out Radio starts next Friday, or this coming Friday, however you want to look at it. And then so we won't be back on. It'll be from July 20th until August the 5th will be the first day that we're back, which is on a Monday. So what is that? 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, so like the 10th of August, that'll be when we'll get the first After Hours show on the other side of the break. So make sure you tune in today and tomorrow and get this good After Hours in, because we won't see it for a few weeks here, and I'll end up missing you guys during that time, as myself and Dave Scott and Lee and Jackson, others behind the scenes, go ahead and get things situated and come back with a bang, like we're going to do. Make a few tweaks and changes. Will officially be After Hours will officially be going on to radio after that as well. So the format that we have here will change, maybe just a little bit, but not much. And we'll see where that new journey takes us, guys. And Christine, I do appreciate that happy belated birthday. Had an awesome time for my birthday. Another year older, you know, whenever you have a birthday, you always have a moment where you think about things and, you know, where things are. And you kind of have a review of where you're at with your life and things of that nature. So that's what every birthday brings. But then you also have those fun times, which definitely did have some great time for my birthday. So I do appreciate those happy birthdays. And yes, Bomber, SOR, under construction with the construction signs. That would be accurate. And Area 51, Route to the G, say it, we bring the heat, never the sleep. So with that being said, definitely had a great time with you guys tonight. Glad to be back here with After Hours. Make sure we want to thank our guest tonight as well, Tom Conwell. Awesome guy. We're going to definitely have him back, and our guy Travis Mustus as well. And with that being said, you know, we have a lot of space travelers out there. Make sure you take the next step and join the club. That's right. You can join a Spaced Out Radio After Hour our Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 per month by joining our Patreon. So consider doing that. And to all our viewers and listeners around the globe, thanks for tuning your dial to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. What's that, you ask? We own the night. You guys have a great rest of your night. See you back tomorrow.
Conversations that move the needle.
Mary Rodwell.
That move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.